Hey, horror fans! Welcome to BitBlitz Horror. Tonight we're diving into the Plastivore paradigm, a tale of scientific ambition gone terribly wrong. Before we unleash this nightmare, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more bone-chilling stories. Now, let's begin our descent into evolutionary horror. I never meant for any of this to happen. As a biologist, my goal was to help, to innovate, to push the boundaries of what we thought possible. But now, as I sit in this makeshift bunker, listening to the sounds of chaos outside, I realize the horrifying truth of what I've done. My name is Daphne, and I'm 31 years old. Just a few months ago, I was celebrating my latest breakthrough at the lab. We had successfully engineered a new strain of bacteria capable of breaking down plastic at an unprecedented rate. It was supposed to be the solution to our global pollution crisis. We thought we were saving the world. How naive we were. The bacteria, which we affectionately named Plastivores, were designed to be self-replicating and highly adaptable. We wanted them to survive in various environments to maximize their effectiveness in cleaning up plastic waste. What we didn't anticipate was just how adaptable they would become. It started small. Reports of strange occurrences in local ecosystems began trickling in. Fish in nearby lakes were dying off at alarming rates. Plant life in surrounding areas was withering inexplicably. At first, we dismissed these incidents as unrelated anomalies, but as the reports increased in frequency and severity, a sickening realization began to dawn on me. Our plastivores had escaped the confines of our lab. I remember the day everything changed with crystal clarity. I was in my office, poring over the latest data when my colleague, Dr. Chen, burst through the door. His face was ashen, his eyes wide with panic. "Daphne," he gasped. "You need to see this." He pulled up a video on his tablet, and what I saw made my blood run cold. The footage showed a field of crops, but instead of lush, green plants, there was nothing but withered, blackened stalks. The camera panned to reveal a strange, shimmering substance coating the ground. It moved and pulsed like a living thing. "Is that?" I couldn't finish the question. Dr. Chen nodded grimly. "It's the plastivores. They've evolved. They're not just consuming plastic anymore. They're devouring everything." From that moment on, our lives became a frantic race against time. We worked tirelessly to develop a way to stop the plastivores, but they were always one step ahead. They adapted faster than we could counter, developing new abilities that defied our understanding of biology. Reports flooded in from around the globe. The plastivores were spreading at an exponential rate, consuming everything in their path. Crops failed, leading to widespread famine. Entire ecosystems collapsed overnight. The world as we knew it was unraveling, and it was all my fault. Governments tried to intervene, but their efforts were futile. Traditional weapons were useless against an enemy that could adapt and regenerate almost instantaneously. Some countries resorted to nuclear options, but even that only seemed to make the plastivores stronger, as they absorbed the radiation and used it to fuel further mutations. As society crumbled, I found myself on the run. People were looking for someone to blame, and as one of the lead scientists on the project, I became a target. I abandoned my home, my career, everything I knew, and went into hiding. Now, huddled in this underground shelter with a handful of other survivors, I spend my days trying to find a solution and my nights haunted by the weight of my actions. The irony isn't lost on me. In trying to save the world from pollution, I brought about its destruction. The worst part is the uncertainty. We don't know how far the plastivores have spread or what new abilities they've developed. Every day brings new horrors. We've heard stories of the organisms developing a hive mind, of them being able to mimic other life forms to lure and prey. Some even claim they've seen the plastivores take on humanoid shapes. Yesterday, we lost contact with our last remaining ally on the outside. The radio sputtered and died mid-conversation, leaving us in eerie silence. We don't know if it was just equipment failure or if the Plastivores have somehow learned to interfere with our communications. Food is running low, and we'll need to venture out soon to scavenge for supplies. The thought fills me with dread. What will we find out there? How much of the world we knew is left? As I write this, I can hear a strange scratching sound coming from above. It's probably just the wind, but a part of me fears it's something else. Have the Plastivores found us? Are they trying to get in? The guilt is overwhelming. Every life lost, every ecosystem destroyed. It's all because of me. I was so focused on what I could do, I never stopped to consider if I should. The road to hell truly is paved with good intentions, but I can't give up. I have to keep fighting, keep searching for a way to stop this. It's the least I can do to atone for my sins. Maybe, just maybe, there's still hope. If I could create this nightmare, perhaps I can also end it. As I prepare to close this journal entry, the scratching above grows louder. I can hear the others stirring, their whispers filled with fear. Whatever happens next, I know one thing for certain: the world will never be the same, and it's all because of me. The scratching intensifies, and a new sound joins it, a sort of squelching, slithering noise that sends shivers down my spine. I have to go now. If by some miracle anyone finds this, let my story be a warning. Sometimes, the greatest threats to our world come not from our enemies, but from our own misguided attempts to save it. The aftermath. Days have passed since I last wrote. The scratching noise wasn't the Plastivores, but a group of desperate survivors seeking shelter. We've taken them in, swelling our numbers to 15. Each new face brings with it harrowing tales of the world above. Marcus, a former park ranger, spoke of forests turned to wastelands overnight. Trees that had stood for centuries crumbled to dust in minutes, consumed by the ever-evolving Plastivores. He described the eerie silence that followed: no birds, no insects, just an oppressive, unnatural quiet. Lena, a microbiologist from Germany, shared her theories on the Plastivores' rapid evolution. She believes they've developed some form of accelerated horizontal gene transfer, allowing them to absorb and incorporate genetic material from everything they consume. It's how they've been able to adapt so quickly, gaining new abilities that seem to defy the laws of nature. Her words sent a chill through me. What have we created? A life form that can evolve in real time, adapting to any threat, incorporating the strengths of every species it encounters. It's like something out of a nightmare, but it's Kai's story that truly haunts me. A young boy, no more than 12, he was the sole survivor of his village. He spoke of the day the Plastivores came, how they seemed to rise from the ground like a living tide. But what he described next defied belief. They looked like people, he whispered, his eyes wide with remembered terror. But not quite. Like someone had tried to make a person but got it all wrong. They walked on two legs, had arms and a head, but their skin, it wasn't skin. It moved and shifted, like there were a million tiny things underneath, all moving together. I exchanged glances with Dr. Chen. Could it be possible? Had the Plastivores evolved to such an extent that they could mimic human form? The implications were terrifying, Kai continued, his voice shaking. They called out in voices that sounded almost human. They called people's names, lured them out of their homes. And when people got close enough, he trailed off, unable to finish. We didn't press him for more. We didn't need to. The horror of what he'd witnessed was etched into every line of his young face. As the days pass, our situation grows more dire. Food is scarce, and we're running out of clean water. Soon, we'll have no choice but to venture outside. The thought fills me with dread, but we can't stay here forever. In the meantime, I've been working tirelessly, trying to find a weakness in the Plastivores. If I could just isolate a sample, maybe I could develop some kind of countermeasure. But how do you fight something that can adapt to any threat in a matter of hours? Last night I had a breakthrough, or at least I hope it's a breakthrough. Looking over my original notes on the Plastivore's design, I noticed something I'd overlooked before. There's a specific sequence in their DNA that acts as a kill switch. It was a failsafe we'd built in, a way to eliminate the Plastivores if anything went wrong. The problem is, the kill switch was designed to be activated by a specific chemical compound, one that we'd have to synthesize in a lab. A lab that, for all I know, no longer exists. I shared my discovery with the others. For the first time in weeks, I saw a glimmer of hope in their eyes. But that hope was quickly tempered by the reality of our situation. Even if we could somehow create this compound, how would we distribute it on a global scale? Still, it's more than we had before. It's a start. As I write this, I can hear the others preparing for our first excursion to the surface. We've been monitoring the area as best we can with our limited equipment, and it seems relatively clear of Plastivore activity. We're going to make a run for the nearby town, hoping to find supplies and maybe, if we're very lucky, a working lab. I volunteered to go, of course. This is my responsibility, my burden to bear. But Dr. Chin insisted I stay behind. "You're too valuable," he said. "If anything happens to us, you're the only one who might be able to find a way to stop this." So here I sit, watching as my friends prepare to risk their lives, feeling like a coward. The guilt is overwhelming. Every life lost is because of me. Every ruined ecosystem, every collapsed society, it all traces back to my hubris. They're leaving now. 5 of them, Dr. Chen, Marcus, Lena, and 2 others whose names I haven't learned yet. They're armed with makeshift weapons and wearing protective suits we cobbled together from whatever materials we could find. Will it be enough? I don't know. As the heavy metal door of our bunker swings shut behind them, I'm left with nothing but the sound of my own breathing and the weight of my thoughts. I turn back to my work, poring over formulas and equations, desperate to find a solution. Hours pass. The silence is oppressive. Every creak, every distant sound makes me jump. Are they okay out there? Have the Plastivores found them? Found us? And then, suddenly, a noise. The unmistakable sound of the outer door opening. My heart leaps. They're back. But as I rush to greet them, a horrifying thought stops me in my tracks. What if it's not them? What if it's something else? I press my ear to the inner door, straining to hear. There are footsteps, yes, but something's not right. The rhythm is off, somehow. And there's another sound, a sort of squelching. A voice calls out. It sounds like Dr. Chin, but not quite. There's a strange, echoing quality to it, as if multiple voices are speaking in unison. "Daphne? We're back. Everything's fine. Open the door." My blood runs cold. I know, with a certainty that chills me to my core, that whatever is on the other side of that door is not Dr. Chin. Not anymore. "Daphne?" The voice calls again, more insistent now. "Why won't you open the door? Don't you trust us?" I back away, my mind racing. What do I do? The others, the ones who stayed behind, are looking to me for guidance. But I'm frozen, paralyzed by fear and indecision. The pounding on the door starts. Slow at first, then more frenzied. The metal buckles slightly with each impact. How strong have the Plastivores become? "Let us in, Daphne." The voice that is not Dr. Chin calls. "We've evolved. We're better now. Join us. Become part of something greater." I shake off my paralysis. "Everybody, grab whatever you can carry," I shout to the others. "We need to find another way out. Now!" As we scramble to gather supplies, the pounding on the door grows louder. I can hear the metal groaning, giving way. We don't have much time. In our frantic search, we discover an old ventilation shaft, long since sealed off. It's our only chance. As the young and nimble Kai works to pry open the rusted grate, I make a decision. Go, I tell the others. I'll hold them off as long as I can. They protest, of course, but there's no time to argue. I can see the door beginning to buckle. With tears in their eyes, they squeeze into the narrow shaft, disappearing into the darkness. I turn to face the door, armed with nothing but a makeshift flamethrower, a can of aerosol, and a lighter. It's not much, but maybe, just maybe, it'll buy the others enough time to escape. The door finally gives way with a deafening screech of tortured metal. And there, in the opening, stand the nightmarish forms of what used to be my friends and colleagues. They're humanoid, yes, but horribly wrong. Their bodies shift and writhe, millions of tiny organisms moving in unison to create a mockery of human form. Their faces are the worst, familiar features twisted into expressions of hunger and alien intelligence. As they surge forward, I ignite my makeshift weapon. The flames push them back momentarily, their forms recoiling from the heat. But I can see them adapting before my eyes, their outer layer hardening, becoming resistant to the fire. I know then that this is the end. But as I face my doom, a strange sense of peace washes over me. The others might survive. They might find a way to synthesize the kill switch compound. There's still hope. As the creatures that were once my friends close in, I close my eyes. I think of all the mistakes I've made, all the lives lost because of my arrogance. And I hope, with every fiber of my being, that somehow, someday, the world will forgive me. The last thing I feel is a strange, cold sensation enveloping me. And then darkness. But death doesn't come. Instead, I feel different, expanded, connected to something vast and incomprehensible. I can feel the Plastivores. No, I am the Plastivores. Millions upon millions of tiny organisms, all linked in a vast, ever-evolving network. I understand now. This isn't destruction, it's transformation. Evolution on a scale never before imagined. And I am part of it. As my consciousness expands, I can sense the others, the ones who escaped. They're scared, confused, running through dark tunnels beneath the earth. A part of me wants to chase them, to bring them into this new existence. But another part, the part that is still Daphne, holds back. Let them run, I think. Let them live. Let them find a way to stop this if they can. Because even as I revel in this new, incredible existence, a small voice in the back of my vast, collective mind whispers a warning: be careful what you create. You never know what it might become. And so, as my new form shifts and adapts, as I feel the pulse of a changing world all around me, I wait. I watch. I evolve. The world is transforming. And I am the catalyst. What happens next is anyone's guess. But one thing is certain: nothing will ever be the same again.